Hi, I am Chris Paul Utaibi, and you're welcome to FOREX MATTERS, your weekly window on developments in the Forex world and the economy in general. Well, it's been quite some time since the Central Bank of Nigeria suspended Forex allocation to the Bureau de Change, known as the BDCs. It's still generating interest and opinion from experts. So today we'll be hearing from another set of experts. I'm talking about Abiodun Adedipe, Professor Uche Uwaleke, and Tope Fasau. These are three of the major names, the finance sector in Nigeria consult before making some policies and taking certain decisions. So you will agree with me, there's a lot for you to gain watching these three people talk Forex today. And we also have on the card some of our usual segments for your viewing pleasure. So stay with me. After this short break, I'll be right back with you. This is FOREX Matters. You're welcome. Welcome back. While we prepare to meet our three speakers for the episode, let us see what is happening in the world of Forex and the larger economy.
Nigerians spend over 508 billion naira on importation of processed foods in H1 2021. Nigeria spent 601.51 billion naira on importation of vehicles in H1 2021. The National Primary Healthcare Development Agency says 1 million Nigerians receive Moderna first shot in over a month. The Central Bank of Nigeria directs banks and payment service providers to disaggregate bulk payment. And finally, in the stock market, Asian shares on edge in choppy trading as dollar holds gains.
Foreign exchange, hard currencies, dollar, pound sterling, euro, Dutch marks, French francs, and so on. It is all about Forex. It is the denominator that lubricates the economy as well as your life. International trade is run by it. Our national economy is dependent on it. As a manufacturer, it is what you need to bring your materials from overseas. And as a parent, it is what you need to send your children to school abroad. And for critical medical treatment, Forex is what you need to get that hospital outside Nigeria. So you need to know how it's faring in the market, how and where you can get it through the banks and the BDCs. Forex Matters will bring to you information on developments in the Forex market and how the community is responding, just to make it good for you. Forex Matters, your monitor on Forex developments.
This is FOREX Matters. And if you're just joining me, we are on yet another focus on the suspension of Forex to the BDC. But to remind you of how it all started, another report to set the premise.
The recent suspension of Forex supply to the Bureau de Change BDCs was an interventionist measure by the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) to tackle Forex crisis in the country. Weeks after the Apex Bank's policy, the naira has depreciated further, from a little over 400 naira to $1 before the suspension of Forex to the BDCs. The fate of the naira has worsened. Today, the naira is trading beyond 520 naira to $1. It would seem that the Central Bank of Nigeria intervention has not helped the naira out of its doldrums. So what is foreign exchange intervention? A foreign exchange intervention is a monetary policy tool that involves the central bank taking an active participatory role in influencing the monetary fund's transfer rate of the national currency, usually with its own reserves or its own authority to generate the currency. Central banks, especially those in developing countries, intervene in the foreign exchange market in order to build reserves for themselves or provide them to the country's banks. Their aim is often to stabilize the exchange rate. Key takeaways. Foreign exchange intervention refers to efforts by central banks to stabilize a currency. The stabilizing effects can come from both market or non-market forces. Currency stabilization may require short-term or long-term interventions. Stabilization allows investors to be more comfortable with transactions using the currency in question. Understanding foreign exchange intervention. When a central bank increases the money supply through its various means of doing so, it must be careful to minimize unintended effects such as runaway inflation. The success of foreign exchange intervention depends on how the central bank sterilizes the impact of its interventions, as well as general macroeconomic policies set by the government. Two difficulties that central banks face are determining the timing and amount of intervention, as this is often a judgment call rather than a cold, hard fact. The amount of reserves, the type of economic trouble facing the country, and the ever-changing market conditions require that a fair amount of research and understanding be in place before determining how to take a productive course of action. In some cases, a corrective intervention may have to be taken shortly after the first attempt. Why intervene? Foreign exchange intervention comes in two flavors. Firstly, a central bank or government may assess that its currency has slowly become out of sync with the country's economy and is having adverse effects on it. For example, countries that are heavily reliant on exports may find that their currency is too strong for other countries to afford the goods they produce. They may intervene to keep the currency in line with the currencies of the countries which import their goods. The Swiss National Bank (SNB) took this kind of action from September 2011 to January 2015. The SNB set a minimum exchange rate between the Swiss franc and the euro. This kept the Swiss franc from strengthening beyond an acceptable level for other European importers of Swiss goods. This approach was successful for 3.5 years, after which the SNB determined that it had to let the Swiss franc float freely. Suddenly, without prior warning, the Switzerland Central Bank released the minimum exchange rate. This had highly negative consequences to some businesses, but generally, the Swiss economy has been unfazed by the intervention. Intervention can also be a short-term reaction to a certain event. A one-off event may cause a country's currency to move in one direction in a very short space of time. Central banks will intervene with the sole purpose of providing liquidity and reducing volatility. After the SNB lifted the floor in its currency against the euro, the Swiss franc plummeted by as much as 25%. The SNB intervened in the short term to stop the franc from falling further and curb the volatility. Risk of foreign exchange intervention. Foreign exchange interventions can be risky because they can undermine a central bank's credibility if it fails to maintain stability. Defending the national currency from speculation was a precipitating cause of the 1994 currency crisis in Mexico and was a leading factor in the Asian financial crisis of 1997. It is hoped that the Nigerian Central Bank will have a second look at its recent policy in order to first return the naira to its pre-BDC suspension and then, working with the bank and bureau de change operators, find a more sustainable solution to stabilize the naira.
Foreign exchange hard currencies: dollar, pound sterling, euro, Dutch marks, French francs, and so on. It is all about forex. It is the denominator that lubricates the economy as well as your life. International trade is run by it. Our national economy is dependent on it. As a manufacturer, it is what you need to bring your materials from overseas. And as a parent, it is what you need to send your children to school abroad. And for critical medical treatment, forex is what you need to get that hospital outside Nigeria. So you need to know how it's faring in the market, how and where you can get it through the banks and the BDCs. Forex Matters will bring to you information on developments in the forex market and how the community is responding, just to make it good for you. Forex Matters, your monitor on forex developments.
Welcome back. Abiodun Adedipe is a professional economist and he has over 41 years of experience in the field of economy, local and global. Professor Uche Uwaleke is a lecturer at the Nasarawa State University, Department of Banking and Finance. And Tope Fasau, Global Analytics Limited, he is the Chief Executive Officer. Now let us hear from the three of them what they have to say about the current policy of CBN on Forex. While he agrees that the CBN policy is a right step in the right direction, Adedipe reveals one of the many reasons behind the setting up of the BDCs.
The idea simply was that we create a window for some businesses to buy and sell foreign currencies, and essentially dealing with those who may not find it easy or convenient to buy from the official window. So, and within that concept also, the idea is for them to buy from travelers coming into Nigeria, whether they are foreigners or they are Nigerians who did some things offshore and were able to make some money and brought back those foreign currencies. So the idea then was they will sell to the bureau de change, and when people are also going out of Nigeria, they can easily buy from them. Of course, that took from the existence of bureau de change in other climes. We call them jurisdictions in terms of central banking. So that was the concept originally.
One of the major worries of any CBN governor is premium.
The major worry for the central bank or anyone considering management of the FX market is the premium. Premium, I will explain to the viewers, is the difference between the official rate and the FX rate you get from the other segments of the FX market. The other segments will mean the roadside, that we commonly refer to as the parallel market. There is the bureau de change. Of course, in those days, we used to talk about export proceeds, we talk about, all manner of different arrangements. So, but today, the idea simply is that any other market outside of central bank is an alternative. So what is the rate there? How does that compare to the official rate? So the difference between those two rates is called premium.
Anytime the premium goes beyond 5%, it incentivizes round tripping. Adedipe explains how this sort of situation incentivizes or encourages illicit trading in Forex.
So anytime that premium is greater than 5%, it becomes an incentive for round tripping. So we call it incentive for round tripping, which means the foreign currency becomes now attractive for those who want to speculate, to go and buy, sell, and then they generate more naira, and they can return to that official market and buy even more dollars. They go back and convert to naira, get a lot more naira that empowers them to buy even more dollars. That's why it's called round trip. Okay? There is no currency anywhere in the world that can survive such an arrangement.
Despite removing the BDCs from the Forex allocation chain, the naira has gone even weaker. So what's the issue?
It means the real issue here is that the speculators believe that this position of the central bank is not something sustainable, which means it's not institutionalized. So which means then that if another governor comes to the office after the expiration of Emefiele's term, the likelihood is that he or she may go back to the old way of doing things. So you then come back to look at what are those factors that cause exchange rates to move. And of course, there are about 12 of them we discussed in economics. One of them is what I mentioned earlier, the interplay between demand and supply, which as of today does not support what we see happening in that market. Okay, that is depreciation of the naira in the market that we see now. It's not supported by the interplay of demand and supply.
Now, other factors that destabilize the naira include the state of the economy, the capital market, interplay between capital inflows, which includes net inflow and net outflow. But Adedipe says, however, that there is yet another reality to check here.
The interplay between capital flows, that is whether we have net inflows or net outflows. The reality today is that Nigeria is still in a position of net inflows, going by the data on capital importation. So that also cannot explain the depreciation. And of course, we look at the issue of the exchange rate differentials between Naira and our major trading currencies. What is happening to those currencies and what is happening to the Naira? So we can also explain that. There's also what they call interest rate differentials, which means what is the average rate of interest here in Nigeria and what is the average rate of interest in those countries of our major trading currencies.
The desired goal in all of this for the CBN is to strengthen the Naira. Adedipe tells us what it would take for that.
Now, the minimum that should ensure the exchange value of your currency is stable is 6 months. Which means, as of today, Nigeria has enough of the cover expected to assure that the exchange value of the currency is stable. So which means the explanation is not in the position with external reserves. That's where I'm going. So if it is not that, it then means it is basically speculation. So the question then will be for us, how do we deal with speculation?
In a study he helped conduct at some point, Adedipe discovered that government's policy decisions, for the most part, affect the stability of the Naira.
One that stood out clearly was that every time we said we were removing subsidy from refined petroleum products, the Naira lost value. We see that relationship in that chart. And I'm talking of a chart constructed for a 51-year period. That's a long enough period to make sense out of this. Okay? And also, every time we took measures that tended to do precisely what IMF recommends to you. And why do I say that? The role of IMF within the global economy is to intervene in any country that has currency crisis. And usually in doing that, they will come with what we call conditionalities. At times we refer to them as austerity measures. Okay? When you adopt those measures, some of them do not fit very well into your own economy. So it is expected that you will domesticate them.
One of the ways to fix the Naira depreciation has to do with the merger of certain dynamics which dictate, developments in the forex market.
I won't use the word merger now, but where those rates appear to come together, you see in a short moment that the parallel market and other alternative segments, their rates begin to move away from the official rate. So in which case, until the economy is structure changes, where we produce more of what we consume and consume more of what we produce, we continue to have that scenario play out, which is what the speculators are actually banking on.
Uwaleke says that these measures will help inject sanity into the forex markets. And of course, the creditworthiness of the country will be enhanced also.
And will also, by so doing, boost confidence, the confidence of investors, not only local investors, but also international investors, in the Nigerian economy. Because now that they know that there is semblance of sanity, in the forex market, and of course, when confidence is boosted, the likelihood of attracting more foreign investments, will be there. And I also say what the central bank has done will put Nigeria, in very good state. Will put Nigeria in very good light with respect to credit rating. Okay, so it will enhance the credit worthiness of Nigeria.
Now that some of the banks have been found culpable of the same infractions that led to the suspension of the BDCs, Professor Uwaleke says it then means that the CBN has to deepen its supervision this time.
To the central bank to firm up monitoring, to firm up supervision of the commercial banks. Commercial banks are expected to render regular reports to the central bank. And as I said, because of their small number, it's easier to hold anyone that is in breach, hold that particular bank and apply sanctions. So that is my argument. So if banks are resorting to diverting forex, I think the central bank is in a position to check that kind of behavior. And I'm happy that, going by what we have read, the bankers committee, okay, are all in support, are all cooperating with the central bank, to ensure that this measure works.
Additionally, the professor says this is also the time for the CBN to strengthen its customer protection department to ensure effective delivery of forex services to Nigerians.
The time for the central bank to strengthen the consumer protection department and also ensure that such complaints are attended to, promptly, because whether we like it or not, there are bound to be, avalanche of complaints, coming from those seeking to buy.
The professor also believes that APCON, which is the BDC's association, also brings some positive values to the table here.
I think over the years, the central bank, has been dealing with the association, Association of Bureau de Change Operators, a responsible association. I think yes, the executive, especially the president, has been one person, that is concerned about, sanity in the forex market.
Tope Fasau speaks on the need to compress the size of bureau de change operators in the markets today.
Some time ago, in 2005, it was 74. 74. And that's the kind of numbers we should be maintaining, okay? 74 serious people who can be regulated as other financial institutions.
From his own perspective, he gives the reason why the Bdc window was created.
Basically, it was that they wanted the bureau de change to be able to target the retail markets. So that rather than we going to the bank, you want to travel abroad, you want to pay $500 for a short course abroad, you want to pay $1,000 or $10,000 for a master's degree somewhere, for whatever the case may be, you go to the BDCs and they will get all the full documentation.
Painting different scenarios of the different nature of currency crisis, he gives the example of the European Union currency situation as we speak now.
That the currency union was tested. So Greece is in the same currency union as Germany, but Greece produces what? Tourism, all right? And produces a few citrus fruits and nice flowers and so on. Germany produces what? Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Audi, German machine, the most reliable machines in the world produced in Germany. And so when you're choked in the same union with those two, with this kind of scenario, Greece found out that, look, it will not be able to keep up inflation at the level that they wanted, or keep up deficit at the budget deficit at the level that Germany wants it. The euro was now seen as basically a German creation that Germany wants to use to benchmark every other person, because it's so easy for Germany to keep its deficits low because production was at a frenetic level. And of course, economic complexity was at a very high level in Germany. That's why the UK did not join that union, and that's why the UK pulled out even eventually in what you have Brexit, you know what I'm saying? So so that's another scenario of currency crisis, you know.
Thanks for sharing this hour with me. How time flies. Well, this is where we draw the curtain on today's episode. Till we meet next episode, same time, same station. I remain your Forex guide. Chris Paul is my name. Have a great day.